Hello and welcome to another video, and Space Engineers 2 has been officially confirmed. Woohoo! Alright! We've done it. We've got Space Engineers 2. Well, let's talk about it. Now, if you were expecting this video to be let's go through the teaser, pause, zoom in, what is that blurry block in the background? Could it be this? Could it be that? I don't know. Speculate. You're in the wrong channel. This is not what I do here. We're going to talk about economics and game development timelines. So if you are looking for more like woohoo hype kind of stuff, go to another YouTube channel. We're going to talk about real world facts here. Now, let's do a little bit of a summary of the facts, what they were showing off in the latest teaser. Space Engineers 2 is officially confirmed. The 25 centimeter grid system, the paint tool, undo and redo system, with more details coming on the 19th. There was also a press release that they sent out where they confirmed there will be early access to the game. So it's not going to be like a finished product, all of a sudden just here it is, done, buy it, it's over. It's going to be early access available probably sometime soon. And then the game will develop as they go forward. Very similar to how they did the original Space Engineers 1. So, Space Engineers 2 was confirmed today, right? Well, if you read between the lines, it was confirmed about 2.5 years ago when they announced V-Rage 3. Realistically, a company needs to make money. Very capitalistic. Yes. If they're going to go through all the effort and all the time and all the money to make V-Rage 3 a new engine, you're going to make a new game on it. And you're not just going to do an update of your current game, because Space Engineers 1 has an established install base. And that's it. People would have to buy Space Engineers 1 to upgrade to sort of the new version of it if they went that route. And based on the different websites and Keen Zone numbers and such, Space Engineers has an install base of somewhere between 5 and 6 million, based on what I can see. So that's it. That's all you would have to, all that you could sell to, where potentially with a new game and a bunch of new media push and all the video game websites, they like having new thing coming out rather than old thing, but slightly better now. So new thing always gets better clicks. So they're going to run more news about it. They're going to get better ads about it. They're going to get more interest in it if they do the new thing. So yeah, the moment that they said it was V-Rage 3, it was going to be Space Engineers 2. Now, if we talk about timelines, a typical video game is like 3 to 5 years in order to be made. So they announced that they're making V-Rage 3 in 2022, so I immediately said, okay, they're making a new engine. It could probably be on the higher end of the game development cycle. It's probably like 5-ish, maybe longer years. We're probably going to see the game come out in its finished, and I'm doing that with air quotes, but you can't see that because I'm just a voice, finished form in like 2027, right? So, cool. We'll probably get early access a year and a half before, sometime mid-2025, 2026. That's what I was expecting. I actually was not expecting there to be an update confirming Space Engineers 2 this early, right at the beginning of 2025, end of 2024. I feel like this is about 6 months too early. But the reasoning behind that feeling a little bit too early is that Space Engineers 1 is still in development, isn't it? Like, they're still talking about the future updates they're going to do for Space Engineers 1. If they announce early access dates for SE2, why the hell would I buy another DLC for SE1? SE1 is going to come to end of its life cycle. Why would I invest more into it? This is the kind of thinking that is going to be out there. So it's just kind of confusing to me. I'm like, well, why didn't you just go and say, oh, yeah, we're going to do, say, for example, we know the next thing coming in Space Engineers 1 is another update to PvE. They're going to update the different like cargo ships that are flying around to be more in line with the new stations they made. Cool. That's a major update that's going to come soon. Then maybe they do another like most wanted number 2 type thing where they add a bunch of quality of life and things that the community really want. At that point, they could say Space Engineers 1 is done. And I would be okay with that. That would be 2 good updates. You're going to flesh out the PvE. You're going to give people a good quality of life update. Then you're going to be done with the game. At that point, which would probably be mid-2025, you announce Space Engineers 2. You give an early access, which will be like late 2025. And then you go from there. You sold all you can sell with Space Engineers 1. You move on to Space Engineers 2. You start selling early access. It just feels like they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot a little bit by doing this before they're done spending money on 1. You know what I mean? But anyway, moving on. When will Space Engineers 2 go to early access? I don't know. I'm really confused because I thought, it was going to be in sort of late 2025, early 2026, because I thought they're going to be done with Space Engineers 1 first. But I guess it could be anywhere soon, actually. I don't know. But another thing is, I don't think Space Engineers 2 is going to be feature complete when, obviously it's not going to be feature complete when it goes into early access, but it's not even going to be like equivalent to Space Engineers 1 when it goes into early access. I think because all of their teasers have just been in space on asteroids. They haven't shown planets yet. Are planets even in SE2 yet? That's something I really want to ask at the live stream on the 19th. We haven't seen planets. We haven't seen a really good update for water. Because they're going to do volumetric water. They were doing some experiments with aerodynamics. I suspect that those systems are far from ready. And they are not going to be done until 2026, 2027 era. So I think that early access Space Engineers 2 could literally just be like what the Space Engineers 1 first early access was. Just ships in space on asteroids, and that's it. And so I think we're actually going to have a time overlapping where Space Engineers 1 and Space Engineers 2 have vastly different gameplay. Where SE1 fully modded with like water mod, aerodynamics mod, all the quality of life mods and such, all the like modular encounter spawner, all that stuff, is going to be a vastly better gameplay experience than Space Engineers 2. Now, Space Engineers 2 is going to have better bones because it's going to have V-Rage 3 and it's going to have the new systems. True. But Space Engineers 1 is more fleshed out. It's going to take time to fully flesh out Space Engineers 2 to the point where I could say, yeah, they're equivalent or Space Engineers 2 is better. So it's going to be interesting. There's going to be a duration where I'm going to continue to make Space Engineers 1 playthroughs and scenarios because that's the only place where it's going to be viable to do so. And then doing some experimentation and like ship design and combat or whatever it is in Space Engineers 2. But yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. But moving on. I want to talk about the 25 centimeter grid system. I think it looks amazing. It's going to allow you to have infinite Greeble potential. You're going to be able to put any little bit of doodad and bump and texture onto your ship anywhere you want. This is going to be amazing. However, I want to see them do this in survival, not just creative when they're doing the live stream. I want to see what it's like to weld those blocks. Because, for example, in one of the teasers, the most recent one, they showed them have a wall in some space station, and they removed the wall using creative. They plunked in a doorway, and they filled in the gaps using creative again. Now think about that. Take that exact same situation where you have a big wall of small grid blocks in the current Space Engineers and replace them with a doorway. You have to aim at and grind down each individual block, place the doorway, weld it up, and then those blocks that they removed extra around it, you have to aim and place them very, very accurately in order to fill up that space. And then you have to weld each one individually. That's going to be a pain, like a real pain. And if it is that much work of placing these blocks individually and welding them individually, to be honest, I'm not going to interact with the 25 centimeter grid system that much. I am going to essentially just play large grid when I'm making my stations or anything large like that. Because I'm just going to go, yeah, I just don't want to deal with having to place and aim at like 100 different little blocks in order to make this corridor. I'm going to just place down like 5 large blocks and ignore that entire system and essentially just be playing with large grid. I think that's a concern that they're going to have to address. And there's some ways they could get around it. They could have an area of effect welder that welds everything in an area. They can have the, I don't know the exact wording for it. It's like zooping or whatever it is, where you, in creative, you can place one block, hold control, and move your mouse and place an entire line or an entire wall of the blocks at once. Introduce that into survival. Allow us, even if it's just for basic armor, allow us to play multiple blocks at once. Of course, they're not welded up. Of course. But allow us to place them. So I can just look at a corridor and go like, yeah, I'm going to place a whole line of unbuilt blocks along the edge here to give it some greeble. Donk. And I put it all down at once. Please. Satisfactory allows us to do this. Space Engineers should too. It needs to be able to be done in survival. So hopefully they answer that question when it comes to the stream next week. The other thing I'm concerned about with the 25 centimeter grid system is, are they going to continue creating pre-made detailed blocks like they currently have in Space Engineers 1? For example, the Pipeworks block. They're a perfect example of this, where they have what is essentially just an interior wall, right? But it has these really cool looking pipes going through it. And so you can put that on some wall of something, and it gives this really interesting detail, this really quick greeble. You don't have to like do a bunch of fiddliness to it. You just plop this large block down, weld it up, boom, instant details. They could theoretically not make any blocks like that in Space Engineers 2, because they could just say, well, we're giving you the building blocks and we have this really fine detailed grid system. You go and do the greeble yourself. Why are we going to make pre-made stuff for you? You do it yourself. This concerns me because not every single builder is a like space engineer savant. They're not out there making these gorgeous grids like they have in the trailers, because those people they hire to make those, like that's what they do for a living, is they design Space Engineers grids. And so they are absolutely gorgeous. But to be a little blunt, the average space engineer makes bricks with thrusters. And that's okay. we should be able to make bricks with thrusters and enjoy those. But having a little bit of easily attached detail would be nice. And my only hope is that they don't take away that from some builders because they go, oh, the infinite potential has been unlocked. We don't need to hold your hand anymore. That's good for the master painters, but some people are color by the numbers. They need some support. So I do hope that there are at least it would be really interesting if they could have some pre-made facades that are 1 block thick, but an entire large block in surface area that give a specific texture, a specific stripe or a cross or a pattern that people could do. Maybe because they're also showing off there was a partial copy, partial paste system as well. If you could do that in survival as well, I was asking for the zooping to be able to place multiple blocks in survival. If you could paste a blueprint in survival and it be unwelded, there is a way you can do this in Space Engineers 1. It requires you to try to load the blueprint while not in creative, while you're in survival mode, and it'll go, you can only place things while in creative. Then you go and you activate creative using the Alt F10 menu, and then you actually place the blueprint that's still in your clipboard, just Control V it. It'll actually place it unwelded blueprint. And then you can go in and weld it manually in survival. If you could have something like that, where a person could have oh yeah, this is my corridor block. I spent a lot of time designing in survival, in creative, and now I can port it into survival and I can just paste it without having to line a projector and doing all that kind of bullshit. That would be so awesome. But I don't know. I'm just concerned. I need to see them use these things in survival and how they're going to work as a game mechanic in order to be content. But yeah, what else here? There's the paint tool. I don't have much to say about that. I actually don't use the mod. I've never used it before. I know some people sing its praises, so it's probably going to be good. I want to see if they're going to have area painting, like the current paint mode, where you can press different modifier keys in order to paint the one thing or everything around it or everything all around it in a large area or the entire grid, which is a very beneficial thing of the current system. Is I can just go okay, let's just start painting this ship. Its base color is going to be black. I want to be a dark ship, or its base color is going to be blue. I'm just going to paint the entire thing blue and then do the details. And so I just go boom, and the entire thing's blue in one touch. Are you going to have that with the paint tool? Or am I going to have to go around and paint every single block? Is that going to be more tedium as I go around and weld every single little 25 centimeter block as well? I'm going to have to paint every single 25 centimeter block. I need to see these things in survival. But beyond that, I mean, I'm really excited. Space Engineers 2 is going to be amazing. It's going to be a new era, probably for my YouTube channel. When that game comes out, I am going to attempt to do Space Engineers content as a job, at least as a partial job, in the sense that I'm planning on it. I'm going to ask my actual desk job, my 9 to 5, whether or not I can make that full-time job part-time so that I can work on Space Engineers content part-time as well. So I am looking forward to this. It is going to be something I'm going to fully commit to, and I will be there on the 19th in the live stream asking questions about the concerns I brought up in this video, and I hope that you guys are there as well. But that's going to be it for now. I can't wait for more information. But thanks for watching. And good hunting out there, fellow space engineers.